Back with you tonight on the late edition. The Education Labour Relations Council says it has been tasked with verifying teachers in order to find ghost workers in the system. A project commissioned by unions and the Department of Basic Education will also probe the alleged selling of posts and corruption in schools in all 9 provinces. We're asking you the question tonight. Why do you think that this practice is still pretty much prevalent, even with interventions that have been put in place? And do you think this widespread inquiry will result into some form of solution to this problem? Join the conversation. WhatsApp us on 072-110-5584. You can also call us tonight on 010-594-6010. You can also engage with us on X at Newzroom 405. Joining us in this conversation is ELRC spokesperson Bernice Luxton, UJ Faculty of Education Executive Dean Professor Nadine Peterson, and SATU spokesperson Nomusa Cembi. Good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on this evening. Bernice, let me begin with you. I mean, of course, I note that a core of it is to investigate ghost workers, but then a revisit to this issue of jobs for cash, something that I believe would have been done about a decade ago by the MTT. Some findings and recommendations were put in place. Why are we revisiting that? Or is it just an add-on as you are investigating the ghost workers?
Good evening to you, Tom, and to the viewers. This exercise being undertaken, as you mentioned some years ago, with the one that we are planning to commission, this is to be done on a national scale. So this exercise is to completely root out the corruption, these allegations of corruption that we are aware of in the system. So this is a bigger scale probe that we are undertaking.
All right. Prof, I thought that is exactly what would have happened with the MTT process. I mean, if you look at the scope of what they would have wanted to do is to investigate all facets of the allegations reported in media reports, looking at all schools in the country and the placements that have been taking place there. So why the need to revisit this process?
Yes, I'm beginning to wonder if the actual problem was dealt with in the first place. You know, when an institution as big as the department says they've instituted processes, they managing the situation, corruption has been rooted out, and I'm hearing from my students this a practice is still prevalent, then I'm beginning to wonder to what extent we really got to the bottom of the problem, to what extent did we root out the issues, or did we just push it further underground and we see this resurfacing now?
Yeah, Sister Nomsa, after 120 days, maybe it could have been more, but at least that would be the time that would have been set for the investigation from the date of the appointment of the MTT. A lot of work would have been done, lots of submissions would have come through, but ultimately, I suppose, they then ended up focusing on 81 cases in particular and had severe findings on 46% of those, and had a number of recommendations put in place, including the implementation of a code of professional conduct. Why are we back here a decade later?
Yes, you are true, Thabo. Yes, they ended up investigating 81 cases, and out of those 81, 38 cases were said, they indicated that those cases had chances of being taken further and investigated further, or cases opened on those. And also there were recommendations that were put in place, such as that code of conduct. The code of conduct was there before. It's always been there. There is a code of conduct by the South African Council of Educators, and us as a union as such, we also do have a code of conduct for our members. So it was a matter of saying the department should ensure that it is re-emphasized, and there's more advocacy on regarding the code of conduct. as SATU, as a union, we have done that among our members to really remind them of the code of conduct, both of the union and that of SACE. Regarding the cases that the Volman Commission said they should be looked further, we do not know what has really happened with those cases. There wasn't a follow-up. There wasn't much noise after that. There weren't any press conferences that were called by the department to report as to how far they've done in ensuring that these cases are dealt with. Yeah. As a union, SATU, we were willing, and we worked with the Volman Commission. We did make our submissions to the Volman Commission, and we wanted the process. We wanted the process to get to the bottom of this corruption. Yeah. So we welcome the fact that the ELRC is taking up the matter, and we're one of the unions who spoke to the ELRC to say, let us look into the matter, because it is really ruining the profession.
So given the historical legacy, I'm still with you, Sister Nomsa, of this particular matter, that, of course, one of the findings, in fact, what was being investigated is that a teacher who wants a job will identify a position, hopefully of somebody who is resigning or is coming to an end of their term. They would then approach a local union official who they know is involved in that particular process. This particular official then would be in the middle of facilitating this particular process via the school governing body. And the investigation found in some of these instances, certainly there were officials and union members who were involved. Now, I know you're saying you've condemned this, it's concerning, and you're willing to participate. But what have you done yourself as a union with those findings around your members being involved?
We said it then, and we still say it now, that we never took any policy as a union. We never took any decision to say we are going to be involved in the selling of posts. Whoever did that, they may have been SATU members, but we never said to them they should engage in such unprofessional, corrupt, and criminal matters. So with those, we did say clearly that whoever has been found to have been engaged in that, will take disciplinary actions against them, even means expelling them from the union. But we still do not have the names of those people. And we did say whoever did that, they did that on their personal capacity. We had no part in that.
Yeah.
As a union.
Prof, then that means that then even with the MTT investigation and the recommendations, the recruitment process remains vulnerable. So there were no measures put in place to make this particular process without interference.
And I think that's what concerns me. I think from the stories I'm hearing from my students are that the problems actually lie within the school situation, and I don't have any information that it's a particular union or union members that are doing this. What our students are telling us, that it is happening at the schools because students go to schools, they drop off their CVs, and this is when the targeting begins. I've been told by students that part of it is by administrators in the school context, by school principals, and of course students also drop off their CVs at district officials and at district offices. And this is where the three places where and the three types of people who are targeting our students. So clearly there is a loophole in the system somehow. My assumption, and I've been part of interview processes with SATU members, and the interview process was exceptionally well done. And the SATU member was very informed about the right way of doing things. So I'm not sure if it's fair to just blame the union. I am saying that there are many points of vulnerability within the school setup and within the various districts.
Certainly, I mean, the investigation by the ministerial task team revealed that there are other factors. In fact, there is broader issues that are affecting the recruitment process, this being one of them, but there are other issues that certainly need to be addressed. So talk to me, Prof. I mean, I don't know if your study would cover that. What are the weaknesses in the system that allow the system to be circumvented by illegitimate processes of hiring teachers?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can comment on that. My study wasn't even about posts for sale. I was simply involved with my research group in tracking our graduates to see how they were transitioning into the school situation. And then suddenly these stories from our unemployed graduates started emerging. I mean, students are desperate. Some of them have in fact paid and been taken for a ride. So I, for instance, have seen WhatsApps circulating among student groups where a name and a number and a place to WhatsApp your CV. This was last year, so those numbers may not be valid anymore. So this seems to be a really systematic, practiced, entrenched way of addressing, of getting to our students. What happens in the background with the district processes when CVs come in, when the applications come in, and how they are sifted, I have very little knowledge of, and I can't comment on that.
Yeah. Bernice, as the Education Labour Relations Council, why do you believe you are best placed to be able to unpack this? Because, I mean, part of the challenge is that there is a culture of not whistleblowing, apparently, we are told, by the MTT in the teachers, which made it a little bit more difficult for them, at least, to come up with some form of substantive evidence when they were doing their investigations.
I believe that the ELRC is best placed to do these investigations, as we are an independent body, and all the stakeholders, the important stakeholders, are part of the ELRC. These are the teacher unions, the Department of Basic Education, as well as the provincial departments of education. So they all have, they're all committed to seeing that this investigation is undertaken in a transparent and ethical manner, and it's done by independent contractors. So it's going to be a very transparent process that seeks to restore the dignity of the teaching profession.
Well, and everybody can be around the table. I think everybody was around the table in the previous one. How are you going to get to the bottom of what we are trying to establish here so that we don't get 10 years down the line having the same conversation? Well, we'll workshop that a little bit more when we continue. We are, of course, in that conversation around the next batch of widespread investigations into ghost workers in the education sector, as well as the jobs for cash scandal, which would have rocked the sector some 10 years ago. What are your thoughts? You can weigh in tonight. 072-110-5584. Give us a shout on the line. 010-594-6010. Do you think this latest probe will certainly get to the bottom of the matters? Second break, we'll continue after this. Back with you. Joining us tonight, ELRC spokesperson Bernice Lexton, UJ Faculty of Education Executive Dean, Professor Nadine Peterson, and SATU spokesperson Nomusa Cembi. Of course, we are interrogating the latest announcement of a widespread investigation set to take place in over 22,000 of our public schools, investigating ghost workers, but also looking into the phenomenon of jobs for cash. We're asking you think this probe will yield any significant results? What are your thoughts? You can get in touch with us on all our platforms. Snomusa, the minister would have said, ministerial task team, advise me on whether the appointment and placement policies applicable to educators and other members of staff at school that are currently existing within the National Department of Basic Education and in provincial education departments are being implemented properly, whether those policies are still relevant and whether those policies require review and an amendment. Where you sit today, what is your level of confidence in those policies? I think we could have lost Sis Nomsa there in that connection. We'll try and get it back. But Prof, let me maybe put that question to you as well, because you are dealing with graduates who are trying to get into the system. How are they finding the placement policies?
Students are disillusioned. They are feeling really out of control. We have some students who graduated in 2020 already. That's 4 years ago, who are still unable to find a job. Now, for a young person, often from an impoverished background, who sees the specter of a job in education, they carry hopes and dreams with them for getting a job, being able to support their families. And 4 years later, they are unable to access positions. Students are saying to us they are submitting through the links that are provided and nothing further. That is incredibly disheartening for a student who has worked for 4 or 5 years to get a degree and then cannot find a job. Our processes are not working and they are failing our young graduates.
Yeah. How can they be amended if they are to be reviewed? What should change?
Well, certainly, I think that the systems need to be more user-friendly for our students. There needs to be clearer guidelines and there needs to be feedback to our students who are applying and who are perhaps not successful. We're seeing that students are having to create WhatsApp groups. They then, when one hears about a job, they let the others know. So clearly the systems in place in the department for this purpose are not working optimally. And that's the first place things need to change. Students need to know where to go, where to get assistance, and how to get assistance quickly.
All right, transparency, feedback, and predictability systems. I think we've got you back there. One of the issues that I'm raising is the placement policies that are in place, whether they are up for review or whether they should be amended. For example, one of the issues that were raised by the MTT was that the recruitment process, in some instances, I know it's handled by the school governing bodies, which they are saying are non-professional, and the credibility of the process is in doubt.
Yes, I'll tend to agree that we need to look at the processes, because we feel that these processes are not that transparent. And also, yes, the school governing bodies, we were happy with the fact that school governing bodies have a role in this, but we feel that school governing bodies should be capacitated so that they know exactly what they are supposed to do, so that people do not come in and sway them because they do not know exactly what they are supposed to do. They need to be capacitated, and there needs to be more transparency with the processes, because especially for new students, they do not know where to go. They do not know that when they go to a school, what is the principal supposed to tell them? What are the processes, or what is the administrator at that school supposed to say to them? There should be more transparency, and there should be more guidelines should be the students need to know, or those who are seeking work, they should know what the guidelines are, because it's like people are at the mercy of the principal, the administrator, or the school governing body.
Yeah, let's talk about this thing of ghost workers while I still have you, Sis Nomsa. Why is it so difficult to verify? If you're a real teacher, you're in the system, you have a personal number, how do you get ghost workers? How does that happen?
It's surprising But it is there. The issue of ghost workers is there. Do you remember the Auditor General's report last year, where she highlighted that in Mpumalanga they paid more than 6 million to people who have left the system, and some are even deceased. Some are not in the system. So we believe that it's got to corruption may be there, and also the systems of government are really not tight enough to really pick up these things. We do have a PESAL system, and once a person is no longer in the system, the system should just immediately stop. So it may be the systems or even the people behind those systems. We are happy and we welcome the fact that there will be more headcounts, and we are happy with the fact that ELRC will be in charge, because the headcounts have been done are done by government officials, departmental officials, but now we are happy that it's going to be outsiders. ELRC will engage outside people who do not know how the workings are. So we believe that they will really assist in getting to the bottom of this.
Let's take some calls now. Tumi, you're joining us in, is it Kayale too? Tumi, good evening, and thank you very much for coming on. What do you think of this next batch of investigations widespread into ghost workers, as well as those who are getting jobs for cash?
Good evening, Mr. Mdluli. Yes, I'm Tumi from Kayale, Eastern Cape Alice. Mr. Mdluli, I would like to congratulate GNU first. Because if it was no GNU, these things will never come out. But now we are very happy that GNU is starting working right. I saw we South Africans can keep on vote like this, so that we must not rule by one party. Because once we rule by one party, we will not experience things like this. So it's my take on this matter.
All right, that's to me then, Kyle too. All right, Anonymous also joining us on the run. Anonymous, what is your story? I'm sure you got something quite significant to tell us, wanting to remain anonymous. Good evening. Anonymous?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay. Look, this is in keeping with the way the national government operates. I have personal experiences because, I work for a global company. I'm not going to mention who they are. I do a lot of work around teachers and celebrating Teachers' Days and whatnot, and also with teachers that are budding to become teachers that are already qualified, that are working as bar ladies and bar persons. And I have personal experience of that, where someone is trained and qualified in special needs, qualified in 2018. She's working in our golf club as a bar lady, okay? And you know what? She only got jobs as a teaching assistant, and she can't get a job because she has to pay someone for her to get a post. And I hear the number of 25,000 K coming up. And also the other thing as well is that if she doesn't do that, she can't get the job. I'm having personal experience with that. That is just one. I got 600 names that I know of.
Yeah. So it's still continuing and still affecting, to an extent, a lot of the new graduates. Anonymous, appreciate your call. Thank you very much. Some of you getting in touch as well on WhatsApp. Lesego saying, investigate all union leaders. They are all principals. They take over the processes. Mfuni saying, what a disgrace. I'm here as an unemployed educator, yet the department has the audacity to pay ghost teachers and sell posts. What? Why did I have to go through 4 years of varsity if I must still pay for a job? And Tata in Kabeja saying, so long the audio recording is not compulsory in the interview process, SGBs and EDOs will manipulate interviews and give subjective scores. Interesting revelations there. Prof, talk to me about what the callers are suggesting here. Recording of interviews being one of the issues that they're suggesting.
Yeah, I think that's one of the measures. What concerns me, Tabu, is before we even get to the interview process, how have they sifted the applicants and sifted out some applicants before they get to that point, so that people's CVs are taken off the consideration list before we even invite them to interviews. I think, and I'm hopeful, I'm an educator, but I'm really skeptical that we have the will to solve this problem. I think there's multiple layers of involvement of many people at different levels, and I think the levels of corruption are incredibly entrenched. I'm beginning to wonder what kind of access and vetting is happening, that ghost teachers can persist in the system, and that these kind of processes can continue despite investigations for 10 years now. And in 10 years' time, I'm hopeful that we won't be having the same conversation.
Yeah. Bernice, you're saying that the unions themselves are on the table, or at least around the table, to assist you in this investigation. One of the callers saying, well, investigate the very leaders. Do you have capacity to investigate the very leaders of the unions who are saying they are involved in the process?
Yes, I take note of the comment that came through, but the unions are in full support of these investigations. And like I said, there's a buy-in from all these stakeholders to unearth these allegations, to determine the veracity of what the situation is in reality. And the fact that it is going to be a transparent process, it gives us hope that this will not be a wasted exercise, but something that will greatly benefit the system.
Yeah. How would you approach an investigation, for example, of ghost workers? I mean, what is the process effectively that you're going to employ?
Like I said, a service provider is going to be appointed to verify the number of teachers and of learners in the school. And this is to correct the school grading by identifying the number of undocumented learners, because some of the allegations out there are that there are principals involved in the process of inflating the learner numbers. And this is in an attempt to get a higher salary or to ensure that there are more resources directed to a particular school in terms of the numbers, and to receive greater subsidies per learner. So this process that will be undertaken in terms of the ghost learners is to correct that school grading.
Yeah. So it's almost like the caller saying that, look, there are qualified teachers who are serving as bartenders, qualified, coming from university, 4-year degree, right? Yet we are seeing a situation where we are paying ghost workers who are no longer in the system, should not be getting paid. And yet on the same vein, you would go and blame government to say, well, we've got these qualified teachers who are not coming into the system. How do you reconcile the two?
It is very sad indeed that there are people who have spent 4 years training to be teachers, and at the end of the day, they become bartenders. It is very sad indeed. And I would advise that, if people are asked to pay in order to get a job, please report those. I understand that when you are new, you want to get into the, you are scared, but I would like to make a call to students to say, do not cower. Please report this to the police. It's a crime, and when people rise up against this, then we will really see an end to this, because when people are quiet, corruption thrives. So I would urge people who come across this to really report this to the police.
All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll take more of your calls. But also, I want to hear from the Prof how this, is affecting the quality of the education that is coming out from these schools. She even went on to say there is a lot of incompetence that is already in the system. Wonder what the union also has to say to that particular matter being raised. Right, you can weigh in 072-110-5584, 010-594-6010, or otherwise on X at Newzroom 405. The late edition continues now. The Education Labour Relations Council being tasked with a widespread investigation into ghost workers, as well as the jobs for cash phenomenon in the education sector. We've got their spokesperson, Bernice Lexton, with UJ Faculty of Education Executive Dean, Professor Nadine Peterson, who herself is conducting a study with some of her graduates in terms of how they are finding the processes of recruitment within the education sector. And for the unions, speaking for SATU, we have Nomusa Kembi. Let's go to the line. Glenn in Mpumalanga. Good evening. Welcome.
Hello.
Yes.
I am very concerned about the issue of Mpumalanga. I'm originally in Kinross, and it is sort of like a township. There are schools there in Balenhle, in Sekunda, in Balenhle. There are schools there. In one class, there are 62 learners per one, especially in a grade up class. Yet we are graduated to be grade up teachers. The government of Mpumalanga is saying that we are no longer employable because we are holding diplomas, not degrees. Yet a person who has a degree only went to a grade up class for 1 year for practicals.
Yeah.
I studied for grade up for 3 full years, yet now I'm no longer employable. I've got sales certificates, I've got my grade up diploma, you name it. I'm really, it's just, it has been,
Yeah.
it really saddens me.
I hear you, Lynn. I hear you're really, really worried there. Prof, how do you speak to this issue that Lynn is raising? But also, I'm asking this in light of the fact that you would have said there are unqualified or even less competent individuals who are being appointed to teach.
Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear about the caller's situation, but let me get to the issue we're speaking about right now. So, the minister has put an emphasis on the foundations of learning. Students learn, learners learning to read, to do mathematics and so forth, because all the international tests are saying our kids are not doing well. Now, if the most qualified, but also the most suitable person for a particular job is trumped to that post by somebody who may not be the most suitable, but who could pay a bribe to get a post, then we are directly impacting our children's educational outcomes. We are compromising our ability as a sector to deliver quality education to our children. And the saddest thing for me is that it probably impacts the poorest and most vulnerable of our communities, because it seems like this is where these kind of issues are happening.
Yeah. Nomsa, do we have unqualified, less competent individuals being appointed to teach? Do you start to carry out an audit of the qualifications of your members?
I would agree with my fellow guests to say, if this continues, then it will be how much money do you have, rather than looking at a qualification, and really would not want to see the situation where people can get in just because they have money. It will really do a great disservice to the teaching profession. On the issue of that lady who called, Grade R used to be under the Department of Social Services, and then it is now incorporated into Department of Basic Education, and the department came up with proposals to say they will take people who have a degree. But as a union, we are fighting this we are dealing with this matter in the bargaining council to say there are people who were in the system with diplomas. So the department we should really look into them. We cannot say just degrees only, because there are people who have been in the system who have upgraded themselves. So we must look. It's not that we are saying those people, yes, one can say according to the department they are underqualified, but they are already in the system. The department should do its best to say these people, as they are in, they should upgrade their qualifications, instead of saying the department won't take them. So that matter we are dealing with in the bargaining council to say these people can be should be upgraded. We cannot just discard them because they have years of experience, and that also is a factor. But then the department, or they should do their best to upgrade themselves because they are already in the system.
Right. Bernice, the question would be accountability. Are you going to be able then, with your findings, to hold those who are found to be circumventing the process illegitimately so? Are you going to be able to hold them accountable?
Definitely. With the conclusion of the investigations, each province will be provided with reports that contains clear recommendations. And in cases where there is found to be a breach of the employment contract, the applicable disciplinary processes of the employer will then be followed, which is would be the Provincial Department of Education. And where there are elements of criminality, these will then also be reported to law enforcement by the Department of Provincial Department of Education.
Right, ladies, I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you very much for coming on. The Education Labour Relations Council spokesperson, Bernice Laxton, UJ Faculty of Education Executive Dean, Professor Nadine Peterson, and the SACTU spokesperson, Nomusa Cembi. And thanks to you as well for your engagement. Your latest headline news next.